What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of the Believe in Georgia Tech podcast. I am your co-host, Jackson Caudell. RJ out again today, doing a solo pod for the instant reaction. This is going to be a really quick one. I've got to bounce over, catch the Atlanta Hawks, Oklahoma City Thunder game tonight, but I'll try to hit everything. If there's something I miss, y'all know what to do. Tell me in the comments. I'll be sure to try to cover it next week when we're back on. But obviously, big win for Georgia Tech today, 41-16. I think this was the most laid back win. Like you had a little trouble early in the game, like we talked about, but 41-16. There was absolutely no doubt who was the better team in this game, and could even have a little Haynes King Heisman campaign kickoff. Like I think there's already some recognition going to him, well deserved. I think it's been long overdue. But we'll get into that in just a second. But before we do any of that, just guys, again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you're watching this, would love it if you would join our family here. Like the video, follow us wherever you get your podcast. Appreciate it a ton. Again, if I'm having any connectivity issues or any sound issues, I'm sitting here in my car outside Bobby Dodd, so that's why. I guess let's get into it. So Georgia Tech receives the ball at the start of this game, and again, Jamal Haynes catches pass in the flat, goes 15 yards, and then they hit Isaiah Canyon out on a little quick route. He fumbles the ball. Syracuse gets it. They bust off a 41-yard run, gets all the way down to the goal line. But like we've seen in different situations before, Georgia Tech's defense makes a stand. They forced Syracuse to a field goal, made it 3-0. They get the ball right back, and then the offense continued to go to work, although there were still some frustrating moments. But again, I just want to highlight the defense. You were missing Amari Harvey in this game. You were missing Jai Gilmore. You were missing Akilo Stone at the beginning of this game. Obviously, Zach Toby got hurt. He had to go out. That was later. But, coming into the game, you're missing some starting pieces. And, we've mentioned, obviously, Syracuse doesn't have one of the highest ranked offenses in the country since Steve Angeli went out. But I did mention that, look, they have good receivers. Like their receivers are still a good bunch. And you saw it at different times today. Like they got open and Ricky Collins was able to hit them. But just the fact that they were able to get that stand early on, hold them to a field goal, just, again, a great response by them. Tech gets the ball. You had a 34-yard catch from Jordan Allen, get all the way down to the goal line. And while he did end up catching 2 touchdowns today, as we'll get to, Josh Beetham did have what could, against other teams, be a very critical drop. He actually had 2 of them today, but on the second drive he had to settle for a field goal, made it 3-3. But as you could tell, even after the first play of the game, the Jamal Haynes play, and then on to the second drive, like there just was no resistance from Syracuse. They did force a couple punts today, but there was, like, Georgia Tech was able to get anything they wanted. I mean, they finished the game with 543 yards of offense, and it was clear early on that Syracuse was just going to hope Georgia Tech made some mistakes. And, like, that was the number one thing we talked about on the preview show. Like, the only thing going to stop Georgia Tech today was themselves. And early on, you had the fumble, but they bounced back after that. So Syracuse gets it, 3-and-out on their second drive. Georgia Tech's third drive was kind of, you had a false start, back them up. They convert on the 3rd and 11, but it was brought back due to holding, so they had to punt it away. Syracuse again goes 3-and-out. Headed into the second quarter, Jordan Allen made a really impressive third down catch on the 4th drive of the game. I actually thought he got interfered with, but it didn't matter. He ended up catching the ball. So, they continued to drive down the field. Haynes King, they go for it on 4th down, finds Josh Beetham for a 4th down touchdown. It was a 10-play, 68-yard drive, 3:55 off the clock. That was another thing. Like, we'll talk about these touchdown drives for Georgia Tech. Like, you didn't have the quote-unquote death marches from the Yellow Jackets today. Like, it was they just got whatever they wanted against Syracuse. They averaged 8 yards per play, 12.2 yards per completion, 6.5 yards per rush. Like, it wasn't like a slog where Georgia Tech is just having to grind out everything they got, like a little bit like how they had to do against Clemson earlier in the year. Like this was like this was taking candy from a baby pretty much. So go up 10-3 on the 4th down touchdown, took 3:55 off the clock. Next drive, and again, a third straight punt for Syracuse. Jordan Vandenberg gets a sack. Syracuse has a holding penalty, sets them back. They had to punt. On the 5th drive of the game, Georgia Tech 9-play, 65 yards, 3:45 off the clock, and for the second time of the day, another Josh Beetham touchdown. And it was 17-3. And look, you'll never say a game's over, but like it started to feel like, okay, like Syracuse's defense is just never going to be able to get any stops in the game. And, that was pretty much the case. Look, fifth drive, Syracuse, they did start to gain a little bit of a rhythm right before the half. They had a third and short. Georgia Tech stops them. They had a fourth and short. This was the one I was unsure of because they ended up reviewing both of the plays. The third down was upheld. I actually thought they were going to overturn the call on fourth down. Like I thought they were going to give it to him. They didn't. I'm not saying like I would have, but it did look a little bit like he may have gotten it, but they ruled it no. So that's how that one was solved, and Syracuse was stopped on fourth down. Georgia Tech didn't have much time to do anything, but they got a 20-yard run from Malachi Hosley. Isaiah Canyon had a very nice 13-yard catch. They break off a big screenplay with Bailey Stockton that got him right down. I want to say it was to the 1 or the 2-yard line. It was called back for holding. Some of the holding penalties I've seen on Georgia Tech over the past few weeks, there were some really egregious ones against Virginia Tech. Kind of ticky-tack to me, but they were able to make up for it. Haynes had a 25-yard run. They ended up settling for the field goal. They used their last time out. There's about 4 seconds left. I figured Key would probably kick the field goal just to make it a 3-possession game. You never know with him and Buster. Sometimes like they do like to take their chances. Ended up being 20-3 at halftime, and Georgia Tech was outgaining Syracuse 322 to 118 at halftime. King 18 of 23, 183 yards passing, 59 yards rushing. He was the best player from start to finish in this game. And, obviously Malik Rutherford and Harrison Moore were out today. We talked about that on Thursday. Like all three of those guys were questionable coming into the game, but they ended up all sitting this one out. And the guys that we thought would step up did. Look, Bailey Stockton was reliable today. Jordan Allen had some big moments. Tana got the start. He had a false start penalty, which is hard to do at center. But overall, I thought the offensive line did a really good job today. Kept Haynes King clean in the pocket. Were able to open up enough lanes in the running game. And to start out the second half, Syracuse got the ball, and like that felt like the drive for the game. Like if they couldn't do anything, it was just going to be lights out. And even if they did, like Georgia Tech was still going to have a significant advantage just because of the way they were playing on offense. And credit to Syracuse, like they came out swinging. He hit Jonte Cook. I think there was a busted coverage. Jonte Cook was just wide open. And we mentioned on the pod, they have good receivers. If their OC can scheme them open, which he does a pretty good job at doing, Ricky Collins has to hit him. He wasn't able to do that all the time, but he was able to on this drive. Then they hit a slant to Daryl Gill, some poor tackling on that one, and it was a 2-play, 75-yard drive. And you kind of had to sit up a little bit, and we're like, okay, like, can Georgia Tech respond? Like, are they gonna be able to keep Syracuse and keep the pressure on them? And they did just that. 7-play, 75-yard drive. Dean Patterson, 37-yard touchdown. I want to say that was his second of the season. I hope I'm right on that one because I know he caught a screen pass earlier in the year as well. Again, only 3:17 off the clock. Like I said earlier, like it was a lot of quick drives for Georgia Tech today. Wasn't any of these long drives, long drawn out drives, like we see them like to do. Made it 27-10. Syracuse goes 3 and out on the next drive, and then a 5-play, 65-yard drive for Georgia Tech. Only took 2:39 off the clock. Haynes King touchdown run, 34-10. Syracuse comes back, has a couple of fourth down conversions, but then Jason Moore forced a Ricky Collins fumble, which was big. But then Georgia Tech did end up going 3 and out, which was really their only misstep of the second half. Syracuse gets it back, 16-play, 89-yard drive, took 5:39 off the clock. They were trying to go with tempo. 16 plays in less than 6 minutes is kind of impressive. They went for 2, didn't get it. Georgia Tech gets the ball back, 7 plays, 46 yards, 4:10 off the clock. Haynes King touchdown run, made it 41-16. They ended up holding Syracuse on the next drive. Aaron Philo came in, finished the game up. But that was it. It was pretty. It was the smoothest Georgia Tech win of the year, like Power 4 wise. Gardner Webb obviously was pretty smooth. Temple was mostly smooth, but even that one, like you had a little bit more, like they had some turnovers in that game. I'm not going to relitigate that whole game, but just saying. But again, just a very good win for Georgia Tech. And look, they're 8-0 now. And people can say whatever they want to. the main thing you have to do in college football in this day and age is win. That's what they continue to do. And the ACC race got more interesting today because now it looked like it was going to be Georgia Tech as the only undefeated team left in conference play. It looked like North Carolina was going to get the signature win of the Bill Belichick era, but they did not. They ended up went to overtime. They went for two to try to win the game, didn't get it. Virginia stays undefeated. Wake Forest walked off SMU, and look, people are going to say what they want to about Georgia Tech beating Wake Forest. We've discussed it at length. I'm not going to go into it again, but that's an impressive win going on the road beating Wake Forest, who is clearly a well-coached football team. Like Jake Dickert is a very good coach. But the main point is SMU is no longer unbeaten in conference play. So, look, now it's Georgia Tech and Virginia. They do control their own destinies. The ACC race has been muddled for a little bit. You had a bunch of one-loss teams. You still have a bunch of one-loss teams that have to play tonight. Miami plays tonight. Louisville plays tonight. And Cal went down last night. That's another one. So 3 ACC games remaining at NC State next week, Boston College the week after, and Pitt. I blanked on it for a second. I was like, who do they play before Georgia? But it's Pitt. They play Pitt at home. Pitt and NC State are playing each other right now. I don't know the score of that, but some individual stuff. Again, Haynes King was brilliant today. 25 of 31, 304 yards, 3 touchdowns, 81% completion percentage, which was the highest single game in school history. I saw today. That just fantastic performance. He was the leading rusher, 12 carries, 91 yards. Malachi Hosley, 8 carries, 81 yards. Jamal Haynes, only 7 for 23. Trelane Maddox also got 5 carries, which was interesting. Only had 16 yards, but he got 5 carries. Tech ended up 543 yards, 304 passing yards, 239 rushing yards. Did have 4 penalties. Were 8 of 12 on third down, 1 for 1 on fourth down. Averaged 8 yards a play, 5 of 6 in the red zone. Look, just a very good all-around offensive effort. There's really nothing I can say other than there were some timely, you had a couple of penalties on what did I say, the third drive of the game where you had the false start and you had the holding. And then at the end of the first half, when Stockton hit that screen, it looked like he was going to score a touchdown. You had a penalty there. There were some moments when it could have been worse. Also, Beetham dropping a couple of passes. Look, that's anybody hates to see that, but I can tell you, Josh Beetham works his tail off, and you've seen it over the past few weeks consistently. He had a big catch against Virginia Tech, had a big catch against Duke, had 2 touchdowns today. And he could have had 4. Josh Beetham could have had 4 touchdowns today. It's what's incredible. So I know he'll bounce back from that. Dude works his tail off and has been a really nice. He's been coming on here lately. It's been very good to see. Defensively, Tech ended up having 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. I think the thing I'm going to be watching, obviously, like I'm sure you guys are, is what's up with the injuries. What's going to be the deal with that here heading into NC State? Because look, Georgia Tech is a better team than NC State. There are 3 members of Georgia Tech's secondary in doubt right now. Look, Amari Harvey's missed past couple of games. Jack Gilmore was out today. Zach Toby got hurt. And look, Rodney Shelley's been playing well. Daquan White has been pretty solid as well. They've been rotating some guys in. John Mitchell's gotten plenty of playing time. It's just going to be something to monitor. Obviously, we don't know when Akilo is going to be back. They missing him in the defensive tackle rotation. The receivers, Malik, we'll see what happens with him next week. Harrison Moore. Again, it's Georgia Tech is a better team if they're healthy. But I don't know how healthy they're going to be. But that's just going to be my number one thing I'm going to be watching next week as we get into that. So NC State's going to be tricky. Pitt is going to be tricky. They both have good offenses. They both can challenge Georgia Tech in different ways. So look, but being 8-0, your ACC hopes are completely intact. Your college football playoff hopes are completely intact. And you're heading into the final month of the regular season with every goal in front of you. Everything you could have possibly wanted to do at the beginning of the season, that is still available to you. You have those 3 ACC games left. We all know who they face at the end of the season. This team continues to win, and it's just impressive. I know I've talked about it a little bit. We keep waiting for them to just put a complete effort together, and this is the time you want to see that. Look, do I expect Georgia Tech to go out and 41-16 every single week? No, I don't. But seeing them play well on both sides of the ball, was it perfect? No, but they were awesome on offense today, and they were really good when it counted on defense. I thought the defense was really good. The run defense I thought was pretty solid today. Look, I know Syracuse had 157 yards, but when you take out the 40-yard scamper at the beginning of the game, it really was they didn't really do much after that. They hit the edges a couple times for some decent gains, but they didn't gash Georgia Tech like say Virginia Tech did a couple times. Like it was, I thought, two pretty solid weeks put together by the run defense. I thought the secondary, given their situation, I thought played pretty well. Again, I don't think Ricky Collins is a very good quarterback, as you saw at different times today. They have good weapons, and when you miss coverages or something, they can get open, and we did see that a couple times today. But overall, it was good. Like it was a good effort considering some of the circumstances they were under, and now they'll head into NC State. We still don't have a game time for that yet. It should come out either tonight or tomorrow. It was put on a 6-day hold by the ACC, so I'll definitely keep you guys updated on that. But at the end of the day, 41-16 win. Georgia Tech 8-0 heading into Raleigh next week. Again, that's going to wrap it up for this one. I got to make it a quick one today. Can't stay super long because of the game I got to go cover now. But appreciate you guys for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Got plenty of content coming on the way. College football playoff rankings are coming out, and even if Georgia Tech were to take an L next week, they'll still be ranked. So that's going to be very important. They should remain a top 10 team. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. And we'll be covering that ACC championship race down the stretch here. Going to be a ton of stuff to talk about, and I appreciate you guys joining with me. Let me know about the show, everything like that. Love hearing from you guys, and we will see you next week.